It was a quiet summer afternoon in a small, dusty town when something extraordinary happened. A young, disabled girl, barely 12, rolled her wheelchair down the edge of her driveway just to help a stranger whose motorcycle had broken down in the heat. She didn't know who he was. She didn't know what it would mean. But that one small act of kindness would soon bring the roar of 250 motorcycles thundering down her street, not in anger, not in protest, but in gratitude. And when her mother opened the door that morning, tears filled her eyes at the sight before her. This is the story of Emily, and how her heart changed an entire brotherhood. The town of Redstone was the kind of place most people forgot existed. A few old stores, one school, and long stretches of road that disappeared into the desert. But for 12-year-old Emily Carter, it was home. Emily had been born with a rare spinal condition. She couldn't walk without help, and most days she moved around in her small blue wheelchair. But what she lacked in strength, she made up for in spirit. She was the kind of girl who smiled at everyone, who painted sunflowers on her chair, and who always believed, the world's still a good place if you help someone every day. Her mom, Linda, worked long hours at the diner. They didn't have much, just a small house, some love, and each other. Every afternoon, Emily sat outside under the big oak tree, drawing or waving at cars that passed. That's when, one blazing afternoon, she saw a man pushing a massive black motorcycle down the road. He was big, broad shoulders, leather vest, tattoos up his arms, and the patch on his back read, HELLS, ANGLS. Emily's heart pounded. She had heard about motorcycle clubs. People said they were rough, dangerous even. But this man looked tired. His shirt was soaked with sweat, and the sun was merciless. She didn't think twice. Emily wheeled herself forward down the gravel, calling out in her small but firm voice, "Hey, sir, do you need water?" The man turned. His face was hard, sunburned, and surprised. For a moment he just stared at the little girl in the wheelchair. Then he nodded, almost shyly. "Yeah, kid, I could use some." Emily rolled back quickly, grabbed a cold bottle from the porch fridge, and came back holding it up with both hands. The man took it gently, as if afraid to break her fingers. He drank half of it in seconds. "What's your name?" he asked, kneeling down to her level. "Emily, what's yours?" "Name's Bear," he said with a small smile. They talked for a few minutes. He told her his bike had overheated on the way to meet some buddies a few towns over. Emily listened, curious, cheerful, full of questions. Before he left, Bear reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a small silver coin with wings engraved on it. "Here," he said, "this is a good luck coin. Keep it for me, yeah." Emily's eyes lit up. "Really?" "Really?" Bear nodded. "You helped a biker today, sweetheart. That means the angels owe you one." He started his bike after fixing it up, gave her a thumbs up, and rode off with a roar that echoed down the valley. Emily waved until he was gone. She didn't know that her simple act of kindness had already set something powerful in motion. A few days passed. Life went back to normal, or at least it seemed to. Emily went to therapy, drew in her notebook, and proudly carried Bear's silver coin everywhere she went. But one Friday morning, everything changed. The sound started like a distant storm. A deep, low rumble that grew louder and louder. The dishes on the counter began to tremble. Linda, half awake, rushed to the window and froze. Coming down their quiet street were hundreds of motorcycles. Chrome gleamed in the sunlight. Engines growled like thunder. The road shimmered with heat and sound. "Mom," Emily gasped, rolling to the window. "It's them, it's bikers." Linda's heart raced. What's happening? The bike slowed, forming a perfect line in front of their house. At the front, a familiar face took off his helmet. It was Bear. He smiled up at Emily, who now sat speechless on the porch. Then he raised his hand. and every biker behind him turned off their engines at once. Silence. Bear stepped forward, holding something in his hands. "Hey, sweetheart," he said softly, "you remember me?" Emily nodded, grinning. "Of course you're Bear." He chuckled. "That's right. You gave me water when I needed it most. You didn't care what I looked like or what patch I wore. You just saw someone who needed help." Then he looked back at his group, about 250 men and women, all dressed in leather, all watching quietly. "So I told my brothers, and they said we needed to return the kindness." Linda covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Bear stepped aside, and the bikers began unloading boxes. Brand new medical supplies, food, clothes, even a motorized wheelchair with custom flames painted on the sides. "This one," Bear said, placing his hand on it, "is for our angel." Emily burst into tears. The entire street clapped and cheered. Linda hugged her daughter tight as the bikers lined up, one by one, each giving Emily a small token: pins, patches, bandanas, and smiles that carried years of hard roads and stories. Bear knelt again. "You reminded us what real strength looks like, kid. Not the kind that rides fast or fights hard, but the kind that helps without asking anything back." He handed her a leather vest, perfectly sized for her, with a special patch on the back. It read, "Honorary Angel, Emily Carter." The crowd of bikers roared their engines in salute, the sound shaking the very ground, not out of chaos, but out of respect. Emily raised her arms, tears shining in her eyes, the wind from the bikes lifting her hair. In that moment, she wasn't just a disabled girl anymore. She was part of something bigger, proof that one act of kindness could ripple across the world. And as the bikers rode off into the horizon, Linda whispered, "You changed their world, Emily." Emily smiled. "No, Mom," she said softly, "we just reminded them the world can still be kind. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes or ride bikes. Sometimes they sit in a wheelchair, holding a bottle of water and a heart full of kindness. And that's enough to move mountains, or in this case, bring 250 angels to your door."